Hey, I'm Matt Kelly. I am a partner and business designer with DoTank. And what I want to do is spend a couple of minutes to just take you through, at a high level, some of the things that we actually do for clients, some of the ways that we engage using our design thinking principles, our move towards action, and helping folks just design human-centered solutions and offers for their customers and some of their internal operations. So we kind of have four main lanes, if you will. Two of them are public-facing, and two of them are different variants that you can use internally just with your team inside of your business. So for starters, we do a lot of work around the tools and skills that are necessary for business design. So we use things like the business model canvas, value proposition designer, context analysis, all kinds of different things that you can use with your teams to actually use space and visual thinking to create some really exciting and new offers and ways of engaging with your customers and with your business. So these happen in a couple of different ways. So we call them learning labs, and we have a 2-day variation that is like a half dozen, 6 or 7 visual tools, and you work with people from other organizations. It's gamified. You act as an entrepreneur, and over the course of 2 days, you build a brand new solution using these tools to help design it. It's really great. It's a ton of fun, and you really learn a lot. So always the climate for the way that we engage is very time-boxed. We move you really quickly, and it's about creativity, intensity, and being hands-on. It's not about listening to us. It's about actually doing. So we have these 2-day learning labs, and we also have half-day learning labs around some of the key themes that actually kind of surround the fundamental strategy that we do. So we have half-day learning labs around culture, around growing business and sales, around prototyping, experimentation, and new business model generation, finding new avenues for growth. So 2 days, tools and skills, half days, tools and skills around a whole wide range of themes. They're pretty great. So that's one thing, public-facing, open learning labs. Another thing that we have, and this is relatively new for us, these are our design sprints that we actually do with partners that we think are pretty exciting and expert in some different areas that complement the design work that we do really well. So for example, we have 2 of them this summer. But the structure is always very similar. So in these design sprints, they happen over the course of 30 days. It's usually 4 key workshops that are spread out and a lot of field work time for you and your team. So you would take your team of 4 to 7 people and working in parallel with similar sized teams of 2 to 4 other corporations, take your challenge, your problem, the new thing that you want to design, the HR challenge, the cultural issue, whatever it might be, but that core thing. It could be an idea that's gathering dust on the shelf, that thing that you want to really pressure test and push over 30 days. So we do 4 workshops over the course of that time and help you design experiments to actually talk to your customers. So this is about design thinking, but also design doing. It's about getting out of the building. It's about changing the conversation and really getting your team in gear. So this summer, the 2 variations, there's one is called Designing a Culture of Innovation, and we're doing this with our partners at Liberationist to think about how do you take a real business challenge and change the way that you and your team actually work, to change the mindset. So you'll pick up some tools and some skills, yes, that you would in a learning lab and you will in the sprint, but you'll actually be working on that core mindset that drives you and changes and affects the way that you work. So that's one, Liberationist Culture of Innovation. A second is with a group called Integrated Project Management, which is project management design, project managed design. This is about really kicking your butt, right? So this is for the team that has a hard time organizing their time and getting going. So we do design work with you, and IPM manages the workflow and the deployment of the experiments that you do. So these design sprints, super cool. Over the course of 30 days, you learn a lot from the other companies that are in attendance. So that's great. So these 2 things here are kind of our public-facing offer. One is really just about tools and skills, and one is a little more consulting. It's more about taking your strategic challenge and really unpacking it, learning some core capabilities as you go. So the third thing that we do is a really fast-paced and cool way to work with your team for 1 day, and we call it the Fast Pass. So this is, you've got us for a day. So what can we do with your whole team, and this could be multiple smaller teams, up to say 20 or 25 people, around culture, business design, growing new business model options, to really put you into gear. In the morning, we typically look at your current state business model. What are your strengths and your weaknesses? How do you create, deliver, capture value today? We look at the context in which you operate and where there might be opportunities and challenges in the marketplace. What's your vision for the future? Where do you actually want to go? Who are you? What's around you? And where are you going? And then in the afternoon, afternoon, we'll take some of these core design criteria and point them in any number of directions that really work for you. So how do you think about your culture in a different way? How can you ideate and fill the wall with new ideas and then prioritize and look at some strategic options for the future? But this is about taking a day and really intensely exploring with your team design thinking and moving that towards design doing. Okay, so that's the fast pass. And then the final thing, which is actually a portfolio of many more, is choose your own adventure. And this is the bulk of what we do. So these are bespoke kind of consulting engagements, right? So these can be anything from, and I'll give you a little range of recent projects that we worked on, a 2-week project for 2 groups within a large organization to think about how they worked better together, how they exchanged value. So one group was kind of a rules and a regulatory oversight division, and the other was sales, outwardly facing sales. And what we did is we designed experiments for them to talk together in a different way and create a different dynamic between the 2 groups, radically changing the way that they work together and their perceptions of each other, breaking down barriers, and taking these 2 functionally, essentially these silos and really bring them together. So that's on one end, all the way to a multi-year design of an innovation engine, where we helped an organization create a gallery of different options, explore and test them out in the marketplace, design the discussions they had with their key partners, et cetera. So designing your own adventure is a big part of it. We do things in here around sales. So we do something called insight selling, working with account teams to think about their ambition for accounts, thinking about how they can increase the value that they provide, ultimately leading to more revenue at the end. So these 2 here are really the internal facing ones, where we come on site with you or with your team in an off-site location, working on the challenges that you have. So we've got tools and skills around the learning labs. Join us and we'll show you some amazing design tools that you can use for your work. We've got design sprints where we'll use those design tools in parallel with some other corporate companies to really take a single challenge and over time experiment, bust it open, beat it up, and really move towards action. We've got the internal fast pass, which is one intense day with your team to focus on a real problem and get some alignment around your current state and your future state options. And finally, this whole range of things that we can discuss with you in design relative to the outcomes that you need. So designing your own adventure, which can come in many different shapes, sizes, and flavors, and over different lengths of time. So here's a quick kind of overview of the 4 of the types of ways that we engage, and we love doing it, and we'd love to talk to you. Thanks a lot.